So somewhere earlier this year in February, I invested a one-time payment of 50,000 for a mastermind program all the way back in the US. And in this video, I'm gonna share with you 5 lessons that because I just came back from one of their mastermind, it was a 3-day event, and I want to share with you 5 lessons that I have learned and internalized that I think might be helpful for you as a financial advisor watching this video. Let's get to it, right? So this mastermind, like I mentioned, is about 50,000. It's a lot of money, relatively speaking. And this is something that, when I first started, when I was thinking about doing it, obviously I was like worried, if I can get my money back, etc., and all that things. But if you look at my other videos, I did mention also at the same time that coaching programs or like masterminds and stuff like that, or reinvesting money into yourself and the business, have always, at least for me, I have always made back multiple times of the investment amount. So anyways, this was basically a mastermind where it's really about entrepreneurs and coaches in the niches of like health, consulting, taxes, kids educations, whatever it is, right? We come together and we talk about how to grow the business, how to get client more results, and stuff like that, right? So basically in September there's a 3-day mastermind, and this time it's live in US, and I made the decision to fly there for the very first time, my first time all the way in LA in US. And honestly, like, the reason why I did it wasn't because of just like downloading the content and information, but more of like getting the energy and vibes and stuff like that, right? And really hang out with people and getting the thought process, so this is why I'm going to share with you the 5 lessons that I've learned during these 3 days. Obviously, there's a lot more, but I extracted these 5 because number one is the most significant to me, and number two, I think it's also more relevant for you as a financial advisor. Okay, so again, if you don't know me, my name is Benjamin Ong, and I'm a founder of Authentic Advisory Systems, where we help financial advisors make more money while being happy, purposeful, and authentic. Okay, so again, I make these videos because I hope lessons I've learned and talked to others might be valuable for you, so that you can obviously make a lot of money, and hopefully one day you will love to work closely with us and join us in our community, right? And if you don't, it's perfectly fine. Lots of love for you. Just enjoy the videos, and all I ask is for you to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Okay, so let's dive right down into it, right? So the first lesson that I've learned which was very funny. The first lesson that I learned was about bonus and curiosity, right? So let me explain that. So when I was there, one of the objectives that I had back then was like, okay, I want to know what do these people have, right? Whether not just about skill sets, but about character traits and beliefs that they have that I don't, right? And what's one thing common among like all these people that are there, right? So for context, here's a funny thing that I've been like sharing with some of our clients. So when I was there, so everybody was supposed to read out the introduction of where you're from, what company, what's the business you're in, and obviously how much revenue you're making and all that things, right? So I think there's 52 people, and I was sitting all the way at the back, the third, fourth last person. So everybody goes first, right? They say like, hey, my name is blah blah blah, and stuff like that, right? So here's the funny thing. When it came to my turn, I was like, I don't know, maybe it's some inferiority thing, or maybe it's just Asian or whatever. I just feel very paiseh and stuff like that. And the reason for that was very simple. I was the lowest earner there, or at least the business that I have, right, is the lowest earning. Okay, like it was the lowest, right? And the next person, who is like the second lowest, was at least twice the amount of revenue that I was at, right? So for context, like most of them are in like about 400 to like 600,000 in revenue a month, and the profit margins is about like 48%, so it's about half. There are a few people that was like doing 800, 600,000 a month, and then I think there was like 4 of them who took back like 2 mil and 3 million a month. Okay, so that was like context, right? So I was there like ikan bidis, right? Basically like just a small fish, small fry. So anyways, I was there. So obviously when I read it out, you just feel paiseh, but that's not the point, right? So the point was that, I thought to myself, okay, what do these people have in common, right? Like everybody was earning a lot more money. Everybody was like, have this spirit, have this like kind of energy and stuff. So I just want to find out more, right? So what I realized was that, so I started to talk to people, I started asking questions, I started to have interactions with them. I asked them about their thought process, how did they get there, what are their struggles, and things like that, right? And kind of like an interview kind of thing, because I just really want to learn. And honestly, like, flew all the way. Like, I think the entire trip was about 36 hours, so it's really long. So I want to make sure that, I really get as much as possible. So when I was there, when I asked the questions, right? So one of the things I realized was that all of them were very bold, like BOLD, like they were very, very bold, right? And they have this kind of like energy and aura of like, you know what, let's just do it. Like okay, so two things, right? First is bold, second is like matter of fact, right? They have a matter of fact tonality and mindset, right? They're like, I mean, if we want this, then let's do it. Right? If I have to, want to recruit a sales team, then I just got to recruit, I just got to learn. If I don't know, I just got to learn. Like that's it, right? If I want this success, then I just put in the work. They made it the way they say it was like a matter of fact kind of thing. They're like, just do it, right? Like, and stuff like that. And the thing is that, like, it's not that they don't have fears, it's not that they don't have insecurities or whatnot, but it's in the face of all these things or all these other emotions that they're facing, because they are humans as well, their mindset of like just being bold and just do it, like just a matter of fact kind of like mindset, allows them to move forward a lot, right? So in one like specific example, I asked, so in Asian culture, at the very least, at least from what I observe, we tend not to ask questions, or rather we tend to avoid questions. We tend not to ask it, and we tend not to be asked questions, right? Especially in a school setting and stuff like that. But like with this group of people, everybody just asking questions. Everybody was just like, hey, I just want to find out, hey, you know what, if this happens, like everybody just going all out and stuff like that, and it really gets like this energy of like, they don't give a shit, they just want to ask, they just want to learn, and then how can they move forward, right? So it's kind of like this real energy and this mindset, and this was something that I found that I was even like lacking in myself, right? And I think it was like kind of like feeling like there's a lot of fear within me, even for myself, and even certain form of guilt. What if this happens? What if this person says this about me, and things like that, right? And I think these are also the things that help me back a lot. I'm moving at relatively good space, but I don't think like I'm like at where I want to be. So I feel like these are things that's really holding me back. And one of the things that they have that I don't as much, right, is bonus, right? And which is the ability to just have the courage to just move forward regardless of fears and insecurities. And then number two, having a matter of fact belief and mindset. Just do it, right? Like if this person rejects you, right, when you go for a sales appointment, then you're just like, cool, what can I do better? Or like this person rejects you, the prospect rejects you, and you're like, okay, so there obviously is something I've done wrong. Let me figure out what is it. Okay, I got it, let's move on, right? It's kind of like they just go, they just move on. That kind of like vibe, if you know what I mean, right? So, so this is like the first lesson, and I think after like I'm back and we're kind of like adopting this, and in our own business and with our advisors, and we're teaching them this as well. It helped a lot. Like we got great feedback that they're just like, okay, let's just do things, right? So that's lesson number one. Now lesson number two, before I dive into this lesson, so the context was like I was talking to Sam Arons, which is basically the guru, the guy who like I think he's doing like 36 million a year and stuff like that. So I was asking him a very personal question, right? I said like, hey, I'm just wanting to know your thought process. I asked him, I say, hey, what do you think is the biggest or the key obstacle or challenge that holds people from doing better or like breaking through and getting to the place that they want to be, right? And Sam said that he just replied this. He said, most people don't even work that hard. And this was a shock thing to me, right? Because like the way I look at these people and people that earn money, obviously they have certain degree of work ethic and amount of hours that they put in. But Sam was like, they don't even work that hard, right? And I asked him to elaborate more, right? Because I told him, I said like, from at least what I observed, since people are working hard 10, 12 hours a day, and stuff like that, right? And then here's what he replied, right? He said that most people treat it, so this is the idea of like, most people treat it of a lifestyle business versus a true business, right? So what's the difference? So when you have a lifestyle business, and I think this is generally applies to a lot of people, especially in the financial advisory industry, like if you have a lifestyle business, this means that your lifestyle comes first, and then you do your business, you conduct your business, which is basically sales appointments, client servicing, whatever, revolving around your lifestyle, right? So if today you have kids and you really want to have time flexibility, you don't want to work as much and stuff like that, right? Then you put your lifestyle first, and then your business like revolves around that, right? So you craft the business or the way you do your business revolves around that. Now, on the other hand, when the other side of it is that, if we're having a business first, is that you put the business first, right? Meaning say that you put your sales first, you put like what you want to achieve first, and then your lifestyle revolves around the business. So if your business or if your goals are like, I want to get COT or TOT, and that's a very high or tall order, this means that you put that first, and then your lifestyle gets, to a certain extent, there's some form of sacrifice and compromise in order to get there, right? So I think the point that he was sharing and making it's not like it's either option is good or bad. And even if you're watching this video, maybe you just want a lifestyle business where you just want to earn 7-8 grand a month or 6 grand a month, and you can enjoy the lot of like time that you want, and that's perfectly fine. But I think the big idea here is that if today you really want the things that we want, right, you got to make it a business first, and then your lifestyle is your lifestyle is second, right? Your life is second. Really put your business first, right? So that's kind of big idea here. And the other tangent to that, right, is that he also mentioned that while people could be working hard, but they are just not obsessed, right? They're just not obsessed, right? So I asked him to elaborate what he means. Like, I asked him to define obsession, right? I asked him to define that, right? And then he says like, first of all, working a number of hours, like 14, 15 hours a day, and for like 6-7 days a week, that's the like number one thing. And then I said, but that's just like level 1, right? So he said level 2 is about like every time, like if you're really obsessed, you're always thinking about it, right? It doesn't mean that you don't have rest time, but it's like you're always thinking about how can you be better. You're always thinking about like what are new ways to doing things, and stuff like that, right? So that was like the level 2. And then like level 3 is like really being immersed into the environment, into just like working, and you're just thinking about it, and then like everything, and then you get excited, and with the kind of passion and stuff like that, right? So that's where you really can have reached a level of like obsession, and stuff like that, right? So generally speaking, like when I heard that, I'm like, it dawned on me that like when I reflected on myself, it's like I'm hardworking, like I work like 12-13 hours a day, 5-6 days a week, but I realized like I peeled in comparison, like I wasn't even near the intensity, so that was something that gave me that kind of shape. So lesson number 2 is really being obsessed, right, and having a lifestyle versus an advisory business. Okay, so you have to decide which one you want, and you got to be okay with it, because there's pros and cons. Like if you want the lifestyle business, there's no way you can earn like 100 grand a month, right, having a lifestyle business. You probably can, but that's probably after like 10-15 years of work, right? It's probably like 10-15 years of work, and then you kind of like, okay, reach a place where you can really have things running, automated and stuff like that, right? But at the start, I think for most of us who's watching this video, even for myself, I think it's a lot of like work that requires to be done, and really being obsessed with it. Okay, and like then you that, like one of the things I always think about is like the people that I think about is like Elon Musk, who's so totally obsessed, and then like number 2 is like Kobe Bryant, right, who's like always obsessed with the craft, and things like that, right? So that's point number 2. Point number 3, which is a little bit more tactical and strategic, is that one of the biggest observations and trends, not only in the coaches, entrepreneurs space, but also within the businesses, the clients of these businesses, which is like education, teachers, lawyers, taxes, doctors as well as like there's a couple of guys who does serve financial advisors as well, right? All they mentioned that one key thing that is going to change, and it's already here within the next like 1 to 2 years, right, is that it's about having a strong content machine, right? You gotta have a strong content machine, and what this means here is that you gotta have a system where you can really keep producing content, valuable ones that will really be of benefits, and like can deliver benefits basically to the person watching this. And I think more importantly is that the whole point of like, so I asked why, right? Because like content takes a lot of time, it requires thinking, and sometimes there's a lot of resistance. And the reason they said that, right, you need to have a strong content machine, not paid advertisements, so like strong, like you're just putting out, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, or like your Telegram channels and stuff like that, is because of attention. Like attention is the biggest currency now. Like in the past, there used to be people that got rich or like got successful in a very, very long time ago was like really a lot of oil, like because like oil production, the top companies is about oil, and then it's about, then after it's about technology, right? It's about technology, about Facebook, Google and all that stuff. And now, right, the next up and coming one is about attention. The ones who can get a lot of attention, right, is going to be the one that's going to be successful, right? And this holds true in all areas of like the business, regardless of where you are in the world. And I think this is very applicable if you're a financial advisor as well, right? Is to really put out true valuable content that's going to deliver benefits, right? And there's a kind of like um, three things to focus on. I think first one is to get there, right? I think first one is just having a core platform, right? And what it means is that if let's say today you are on YouTube, you just focus on like YouTube. YouTube is just your main platform. If you're on Instagram, you just make Instagram your main platform. Like that's it, right? If it's on Facebook, it's LinkedIn, Zingin, or it's TikTok, right? Just focus on one core platform. Now, obviously, if you have money and stuff in the future, they can repurpose to other platforms. But number one is having one core platform. Number two is having a core nurturing machine. So a nurturing machine is different from like Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. A nurturing machine is more like an email list, your Telegram channel, your WhatsApp broadcast list, right? Yeah, these are usually the three that we look at. And the reason why like having a nurturing machine like this is important is because like when you're on like one core platform, let's say on YouTube or Instagram, the problem is that like your audiences are never yours. Like Instagram can just ban you, or like the algorithm can change, and then like things goes haywire, right? But when you have your own Telegram channel and your own WhatsApp broadcast list, right, that is owned by you, so you have a more intimate communication with them, right? There's no like algorithm of like, or like, oh, you know what, if you send this send this message to 100 people, right, it wouldn't reach them. Now it would reach them. Now whether they open it or not is another different matter, right? But it will still reach them. But if today you post an Instagram story or Instagram post, it might not necessarily reach people, right? Like if you have 1,005 followers or 2,000 followers, when you post it, right, maybe you only reach out to like 300 people or 400, right? So that's kind of like the couple of things, right? So first is having a core platform, right? Generate audience, attention, everything else. And then number two is having a nurturing machine where you can funnel these people to your email list, Telegram channel, a WhatsApp broadcast list. And just top of my mind, if today your audiences are like a little bit older, they don't use much Telegram, or like even if you're in that demographic, you probably WhatsApp broadcast list will probably be a good one. If you do like Telegram channel, I prefer Telegram channel, but it's usually for like people that are slightly younger, and stuff like that. And I say I prefer Telegram channel not because I'm trying to say I want to be younger or I'm younger, but I think it's just like the features and the benefits of like having a Telegram and a channel is a lot better than WhatsApp broadcast list. Okay, but you know how that works. Okay, so again, to sum up point number three is really just provide content that actually solves a problem, and that by itself will set you apart and put you an expert as an authority. Try like you do it once in a while, but try not to just like keep asking them to buy your shit, or like just throwing out products, or the very usual one is like, hey, you know what, we have a XXX company has a 3-year single premium tranche product, right? Please DM me if you're interested and stuff like that. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying like don't just keep doing that, or like if every single company's product promotion comes out, like if you just keep doing that, you're not going to provide like much value to that, right? So point number three is really just having a strong content machine. Okay, this will be the future for everybody, especially when you're an FI3 business. Okay, so point number four is about the importance of like health and like being a high level decision athlete, right? So they got a health high performance coach in, and the way he look at us. So when you look at high performance coaches and athletes, right, usually the first thing you think of is like people that are in sports, right, doing basketball, soccer, whatever it is, or like in Olympics and stuff like the NBA, and all that things. So I think when we think of that, we think of like something that's physical, like intensity, like this, like physical sports and stuff like that. But when it comes to business, we are also athletes. So this is what the person said, right? Like we are also athletes, but we are basically high level decision making athletes. So what it means is that, while we might not be physically like running and working out and stuff like that, but on a day-to-day basis, because we are usually behind the screens or talking to people, or doing some form of like more administrative work, more often than not, there's a lot of decisions that is required of us to make, right? And therefore, you realize that like whatever decisions that we make or whatever things that we say has an impact on the outcome that we want, whether it's on your prospect, your client, and family, and even on yourself. So the whole point is that we just always, every single day, we're just making decisions. So in order for us to make great decisions, what you love to do, or what you were suggested to us, right, is to take care of the basic fundamental things. So number one is like really sleep, right? So a couple of notes for sleep is like, people just like have a set time to sleep and set time to wake up. That's important, so they can help to regulate your circadian rhythm. And number two, your mental and emotional health. So this was something that's very relevant and apt, because nowadays there's a lot of work from home, right? Like even like in advisory right now, you can close cases, through Zoom and stuff like that. So you might not go to his office as much. The thing is that if you're at home, try to make sure that you have a space or like a bedroom if you have the luxury to have a bedroom just purely for work, and then or like have a living room just purely for work, and then like every part of the rest of the parts of the house do not like talk about work or like do work there, right? And the reason for that is because the brain likes to associate spaces with like activities. So if let's say you're in a bedroom and you're always doing work there, they associate that, oh, the bedroom equals to work. And even if you're not doing, so there's downsides to that, right? Like even if you're not doing work and you're in a bedroom or in a particular room, your brain will associate all the emotions that do with it. So if let's say your work is slightly more stressed, you feel negative, and sad and everything else, even if not working, the moment you're in the room, the brain will associate all those emotions with it, right? So that's kind of like the big problem there. Obviously you can see, because you're unable to shut off and like disconnect, right? So it's hard for you to be present as well, and that every single thing that you see reminds you of work, affects anxiety, and stuff like that, right? So that's the second one. Now the third one, which was very interesting observation, was that like I think 80% of the people there has an aura ring. So I don't know if you can see this, but see this ring over here. So it's called aura ring, OURA ring, and an aura ring basically is it's like those Fitbit tracker, just that this one is specifically to track your sleep, and it's like in a ring and stuff like that. And the whole point, right, is that aura ring tracks your sleep, tracks your readiness, and stuff like that, and allow you to be obviously like a better decision making athlete, right? And as mentioned in my other videos, is that you cannot measure what you don't track, right? And you cannot improve what you don't measure, right? So therefore, if you're watching this, I highly do recommend, and no, I am not an affiliate for this. This is something that I recommend, but basically everybody has it there, so it became like a common language and a topic to talk about back then, right? So that was the fourth one. Now the fifth point to like the importance of like being a high level decision athlete, it's diet and food sensitivity. So coffee, I think a lot of people used to drink coffee, especially if you're going for appointments, drink coffee. But coffee was something that they mentioned that it screws around with your discipline. There's one. And I think another one is that, so there's a big uproar when the person says like you gotta like remove or eliminate caffeine because it's a lot better. So a lot of people like, not used to it, or like don't want to change that because like they really love the dopamine and the caffeine addiction and stuff like that, right? And I'm a bit more of like a coffee person as well. So he mentioned that, okay, if you really do want to drink coffee, then do this one trick, right? So the one trick here is that like the moment, don't drink coffee for the first 90 minutes of the day. So after you wake up, after 90 minutes, then you drink coffee. And the reason for that is because if you drink your coffee right from the start when you wake up, I'm not sure exact science, but the reason is that, when you wake up and straight away drink the coffee, in the afternoon, you start feeling a crash, right? And what happens is that when you feel a crash, you feel like around 2-3 p.m. and then you're like, okay, you want to have another cup of coffee. And then problem is that the cup of coffee will affect your sleep, and then it screws up everything all over again, right? So if you wait for 90 minutes, then you have a cup of coffee, what's going to happen here is that in the 2-3 p.m., you will not have that crash. It will help you to sustain a little bit, right? And then the other part of it here is that, when you drink coffee, don't like gulp down everything at once, but rather just take sips here and there, right, to really help with it. And don't take it after 12 p.m., right? Because the half-life of coffee, I think, is about 12 hours, if I'm not wrong, 8 to 12 hours, right? So it means that even though like the caffeine effect might have worn off, but the amount of caffeine is still inside you, okay? So basically that's that that to remember, right? So obviously, like you look at us in Singapore at the very least, right? Diet is a big one. Like it's not that easy to really have a good diet here. Obviously it's possible, but it's just not that easy because you have all the char kway teow and like hawker food and stuff like that, and it's cheap, right? So that's that. Alcohol is a big one as well. Alcohol screws around with your productivity, so might not really be something that is really advocated. So there's a big one that I've learned as well. So that's basically for point number 4, which is looking at ourselves as a high level decision athlete. Okay, so point number 5, lesson number 5, right, is about environment energy. So I was reflecting, right, like the point of like this, like almost like 35 hours, right? It was a 16 hours direct flight there, and then it was a 18 hours 45 minutes flight back. Okay, it was pretty long, and the whole point, like I mentioned, right, wasn't to head all the way to US and then come back just to take notes, because like honestly, if I have to watch recordings of the mastermind, like I could have gotten these points out as well, but it wasn't so much about like the information but rather it's about the energy. So when I was there, one of the key things was like, you can feel like the spirit and energy, and there's something that just recharges you, right? Because everybody there is off. You see, if you're earning certain amount of money and you're at a certain level of like stage of life or level of success, you will tend your vibes and energy will tend to be at of a higher level and frequency. So therefore, like when we're there, everybody was at that frequency, and it was just like wow. Okay, it was just like wow. It was kind of like magnetic and stuff like that. And then the point is like you also get there. I was there. I can really get to ask questions, talk to people, understand the thought process, and to me, like this point is the biggest one because it's like it's liberating to the extent that for me there are certain limiting beliefs that I had in the past that I feel like maybe wasn't possible to achieve. But when you're there, like everything's just like possible. Everything is like just seems easy. And I think the key word here is that like it normalizes difficulties. Like things that you think is difficult, like really right now you're an advisor, right? You're watching the video and you feel like, hey, getting MDRT is hard. Or like, hey, getting COT seems to be very hard. I can't see I can't see how I can get appointments and stuff like that. But if you're in a room, just imagine yourself in a room where you have like 50 people that are like all COTs, and you are the only person that's MDRT, or you're not even MDRT. Or like imagine a room that you have 100 MDRTs and you're not an MDRT yet. And when you talk to them and stuff like that, it's just like magnetic. Like just imagine like all these people there. The way they talk, it makes you feel like your problems are like small. Like you're not even having problems, right? And the way they normalizes things are like fantastic. It just makes you feel like getting MDRT is part of it. Like getting COT is like a normal thing, right? And that's the beauty of that, where people don't even bother about like, oh, MDRT is hard. No, everything is part of it. The kind of mindset. And that's a beautiful place to be. And when you hang out with these people, it just elevates your energy to that level. I think, which is why like if I can share this with you, one of the key things I always tell our clients, and if you're watching my videos, you've noticed in the past also, which is like having skill sets is one, downloading information and content is another. But if you really want to ascend and get to a higher level, start hanging out with people at a higher level, right? Now, does this, because like it just makes sense, right? You average the 5 people that you hang out, yada yada and stuff like that. Now, does it also mean that you might need to reduce time and attention and interactions with people that are of a lower frequency? Hell yes, right? It's just the way it is. Now, it doesn't mean that you cut off or like whatnot, and it's probably a little bit more uncomfortable to even thinking about like reducing time and energy with these people that are of lower frequency and energy, which might be your family members or your partners or whatever it is. But it's something that is very, very crucial, which is why like not a lot of people get a lot of success, because they don't like to change the environment because they're more comfortable being at the lower level. Like this is like my real suggestion. Like if you can hang out with people and these people like to hang out with you and they're fine with you hanging out with them, I think that's great. But sometimes you want to hang out with people of a certain level, you gotta pay money, right? Like just like I did, paid 50,000 to hang out with this group of people and learn from the best. And sometimes it just requires like accessibility requires money to a certain extent. But if you personally ask me, it always pays off because it just exposes me to the parts of the world and areas and things that I will never be able to see if not for this group of people that I hang out with, right? So that's kind of like a big idea here on the 5 lessons, right? So if I had to summarize these 5 lessons, so lesson number one is being bold and having a matter of fact mindset. Number 2, being obsessed and thinking about lifestyle versus advisory business. You have to make a choice of which one you want it to be. Number 3, having a strong content machine where you have one core platform, one core nurturing machine where you can really give your audiences, your prospects a lot of value that sets you apart and not just selling them stuff. Number 4, the importance of looking at yourself as a high level decision making athlete, right? Because we make all these high level decisions and taking care of our sleep, fundamentals like having aura thing, looking at your diet, food, removing coffee and stuff like that. And then number 5, we'll talk about, which is environment and energy. Always put yourself with group of people that is always elevating you to the next level. Okay, so these are 5 lessons that I've learned during this mastermind, and I hope this is valuable for you. And if it is, please share it with your colleagues, get them to watch this, and hopefully all of you who like, if you're watching this video, can allow you to be at a better space and allow you to move forward and earn a lot more money. Okay, if not, thank you for your time, appreciate it, and see you in the next video.